You've been attacking that grease the wrong way this whole time. Elbow deep in a sponge, pressing down until your wrist hurts, watching the same dark ring just smear around instead of lifting off. Here's the truth. That grease bonded to your stove through heat, and no amount of arm strength undoes a chemical bond. You need a different reaction, not a stronger scrub. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly why baked on grease clings the way it does, the two-ingredient paste that breaks that bond apart without a single scratch on your stovetop, and the overnight trick that handles your grates and burner caps while you sleep so you wake up to bare metal instead of a Saturday morning covered in soap suds. Let's get into it. If you're new here, hit subscribe and drop a comment telling me how long it's actually been since your stovetop looked properly clean. No judgment, I want real numbers. Here's what's actually happening when grease bakes on. Cooking oil and grease are mostly triglycerides, fat molecules built around a specific chemical structure. Every time your stove heats up around a splatter, that heat doesn't just dry the grease, it starts changing it at a molecular level, hardening and bonding it to the metal or ceramic surface underneath. That's the exact same chemistry that seasons a cast iron pan on purpose. The difference is, nobody wants a seasoned layer of bacon grease welded to their stovetop. Once that bond forms, plain soap and water can't touch it because you're not dealing with a surface layer of oil anymore. You're dealing with a hardened film that's chemically changed from what it started as. So scrubbing harder was never going to work by itself. What you actually need is something that reverses part of that chemical change, and that's exactly what baking soda does. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, and it's mildly alkaline. When it sits against grease in the presence of moisture, that alkalinity triggers a reaction called saponification, the same basic process that turns fat into soap. It breaks the ester bonds inside those hardened fat molecules apart, converting the grease into something water-soluble, essentially turning the baked-on grime back into a soap-like substance your sponge can actually lift instead of just push around. This isn't folklore, it's a straightforward chemical reaction, and it's the exact reason this method genuinely outperforms scrubbing at full strength with nothing but soap. Here's exactly how to use it. Squirt a generous layer of dish soap directly over the grease. Dish soap is a surfactant, meaning each molecule has one end that grabs onto water and one end that grabs onto oil, so it's already doing some of the emulsifying work on its own. Sprinkle a thick layer of baking soda directly over the soap. The soap actually helps the baking soda stick, even on vertical surfaces around your burners instead of sliding straight down. Now take a cloth, soak it in the hottest water you can comfortably handle, wring it out so it's damp but not dripping, and lay it flat directly over the baking soda and soap. Leave it completely alone for 15 to 20 minutes. That hot, damp towel is doing something specific. It keeps the paste wet and warm the entire time instead of drying out in 5 minutes. And that sustained moisture and heat is what actually activates the reaction and lets it fully break down the grease instead of just softening the top layer. This waiting period is the entire trick. Most people rush this step, wipe after 60 seconds, and conclude the method doesn't work. Give it the full 15 to 20 minutes and you'll feel the difference the moment you touch it. After the towel's done its job, use that same damp cloth to wipe in circular motions. You should feel the grease lifting away with almost no pressure at all. For any spot that's still stubborn, sprinkle a little extra baking soda directly on it and go over it with a non-scratch sponge, never anything metal or heavily abrasive. Baking soda itself is only mildly abrasive, gentle enough not to scratch enamel, stainless steel, or a sealed glass cooktop when used this way, but a metal scouring pad on top of it absolutely can, so keep your tools soft even while the chemistry does the heavy lifting. Now, a detail that matters depending on exactly what kind of stove you've got. If you've got a glass or ceramic cooktop, this method is safe, but skip anything more abrasive than baking soda itself. No steel wool, no heavy grit scouring pads, since those can leave permanent fine scratches in the glass that trap grease even worse going forward. If you've got a gas stove with cast iron grates, check whether they're coated or uncoated first. Coated grates, the ones with a smooth, glossy black finish, can handle a soak in hot soapy water for 20 minutes before you scrub. Uncoated cast iron, the matte gray finish, should never be soaked. Wipe it with a damp cloth, dry it immediately, and re-oil it afterward. Or you'll strip the natural seasoning that's actually protecting the metal from rust. And that brings us to the part of this that genuinely handles itself overnight while you do nothing at all. If you've got burner caps or grates with grease built up over months, not just a fresh splatter, here's the trick almost nobody talks about outside of a small circle of people who've stumbled onto it by accident. Place the grates or caps inside a heavy-duty garbage bag. Pour in about a half cup of household ammonia, seal the bag tightly, pressing out as much air as you can. And leave it somewhere well ventilated, ideally outside, overnight. Here's what's actually happening inside that bag. Ammonia fumes fill the sealed space and sit in constant contact with the grease the entire night, and unlike a liquid soak, the fumes themselves do the softening work without you needing any mechanical scrubbing at all. By morning, months of hardened grease has typically softened enough that it wipes away with a rag, and almost no effort, no scouring pad required. This is genuinely a case where the method does the work while you're asleep, which is about as close to zero effort as grease removal gets. 2 safety notes on this specific trick that actually matter. First, always do this outside or somewhere with serious airflow, never in a closed kitchen. Ammonia fumes concentrated in a sealed bag are strong enough to cause real irritation if you open that bag indoors. Second, and this one is non-negotiable, never combine ammonia with bleach or anything containing bleach. The reaction between them produces toxic gas. If there's any chance a bleach-based cleaner touched those grates recently, rinse thoroughly first before this method, or skip it entirely and use the baking soda paste instead. If you've got asthma, you're pregnant, or there's a baby in the house, skip the ammonia bag altogether and stick with the baking soda and dish soap paste for everything. It handles the vast majority of stovetop grease without any fumes at all. It just takes a slightly longer dwell time for genuinely heavy buildup. Here's the complete system, start to finish. For everyday stovetop grease, dish soap first, then a thick layer of baking soda over it, then a hot damp towel laid on top for 15 to 20 minutes, then wipe. For stubborn spots, a little extra baking soda and a non-scratch sponge, never metal. For badly built up grates or burner caps, the ammonia bag overnight, outside with real ventilation and never anywhere near bleach. Coated cast iron can soak in soapy water. Uncoated cast iron gets wiped and re-oiled, never soaked. 2 honest notes before you go. First, none of this removes deep scratches or years-old discoloration that's actually etched into the surface itself. This method lifts grease and grime. It's not a way to restore a stovetop that's been physically damaged. Second, always test a small hidden section first if you've got a stovetop finish you're not fully sure about. Painted surfaces and certain specialty coatings can react differently than standard enamel or stainless steel, and a quick test spot costs you nothing compared to finding out the hard way on the whole surface. Hit like if this saves you a Saturday morning of scrubbing. Drop a comment telling me if you've got a gas, electric, or glass top stove. I want to know what everyone's actually working with. Share this with someone who's been attacking their stovetop with pure elbow grease for way too long. Click the next video for more, subscribe if you haven't. Take care, I'll see you in the next one.